He held his filibuster last night in his first interview. Rand Paul, welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning, Glenn. I was thinking about you about 4 or 5 hours into it. I was thinking, gosh, Glenn Beck can sit and talk for 4 or 5 hours every day, but it's really not that easy to talk for that long.
I can go to the bathroom.
And you get commercial breaks.
I know. I was a little disappointed, quite honestly, Senator. I mean, you're a doctor. Did you think about giving yourself a catheter at any point? I know you're an eye doctor, but
yeah. Well, see, the thing is I did think about it. I've put them in before, and I've really decided against it. But yeah.
Tell me what your thoughts were last night on who joined you, who didn't join you, the success that you had, or where you felt it fell short.
Well, I was pretty amazed by the outpouring of support just up here. I mean, we probably had 15 congressmen come over to the Senate floor, and congressmen are allowed to come to the Senate floor but not allowed to speak or to come forward. But I've never seen that happen before, and they came spontaneously. Nobody called them. They just showed up, and so one by one, 15 people came in through the door, which is, that to me is pretty amazing because we've all got, busy careers and speaking engagements, and for 15 people to show up in support from the other house was amazing. And then really most of the senators came spontaneously too. We called one or two that do a lot with us to help us early on, and then but gradually, I'm not sure how many we had, but I'll bet you we had 15 finally show up to be supportive. And the interesting thing is we may not all be on all the same page on drone strikes here, there, and hither and yon, but on American soil, we came together and said, you know what, we're not going to do targeted strikes of people not engaged in combat in America.
Explain this to people, because I know I have friends who I will talk to about this story this weekend, and they will say to me, the president is not going to do that. I mean, that's pretty much what Eric Holder was hoping people would buy into when he wouldn't deny that it's unconstitutional. Or he was sitting there, and I think he was just hoping that people would say, well, they're reasonable, and so they will never do that.
Well, I just recite back to him, the Federalist paper by Madison when he says that, if government were comprised of angels, we wouldn't need rules. And so I try to make it less about President Obama and more about what if someday we elect someone who would abuse this power. And I think when you make it in those generic terms, people can be concerned with it. And it's dangerous anytime you use an example of Hitler because everybody thinks you're over-exaggerating. But Hitler was elected democratically, so democracies can make mistakes, and that's why you want the rule of law to restrain them and not let them do that. And it's really an important principle, and it's difficult sometimes for people because I want to kill terrorists too. And I think if you're in a battlefield fighting us, you don't get due process. You don't get lawyers. You can be killed. If you attack us in a plane, all of those things can be rejected with any kind of lethal force. But I'm concerned about people who are sitting and eating in a diner, and you might think they're associated with terrorism because they've sent an email to somebody. But really, that needs to be adjudicated in the courts. And even many other people made the point that if you're sitting eating at a diner in America and you really are a terrorist, we'd probably get a lot more information out of you by capturing you and going ahead and interrogating you than we would by killing you.
I can't think of any reason, with perhaps the idea that you have a live shot of somebody wiring up the Empire State Building, and there happens to be no police officers, no FBI. Strangely, the only thing you have, because he's going for the red button and pushing it, possibly at that time, but not for any other reason. Can I think of?
And in those instances, there's really not any disagreement. So, like Eric Holder brings up, planes attacking the Twin Towers like they did on 9/11, or attacking on Pearl Harbor. Those are attacks that obviously are repulsed, but see, those aren't even targeted drone attacks. We might use drones, but they're not what we're talking about when we're talking about targeted drone attacks to individuals. And none of us really are arguing against repulsing any attack or anybody anywhere near a bomb. I mean, if you're just carrying a bomb into a building, I think you can be you're bringing lethal force. You don't have to even have your finger on the button. You can eliminate someone who's carrying a bomb, carrying a weapon. So there's all kinds of things that can be done.
Now, hang on just a second, because we found out yesterday through a Freedom of Information Act that the drones for the Department of Homeland Security can see if you are carrying a gun in day or night with their new drones. So
I'm not talking about going after people necessarily carrying a rifle around. That would be half of the South, myself included. So and half of my staff. So now I'm not talking about that, but I am talking about if you've been investigating a group and obviously you see them going into the World Trade Center basement with a bomb. Lethal force can be used at many stages and always has been. Same with police. Police use lethal force all the time. If someone's robbing a liquor store, you don't get a warrant, and you call out stop, and if they don't stop, you get shot if you've got a weapon and you're a threat to people. But what's interesting is the president wants to answer the question we are not asking: can you use lethal force when someone is imminently using lethal force? And the reason we worry about this is his drone strike program overseas. He says that you have to be an imminent threat, but you don't have to be immediate. So if that standard's going to be used in the United States, we're concerned that could be somebody sitting in a diner.
The Van Jones came out and supported you.
Hey, we got Code Pink too.
I know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I believe either of them, but I'll. That's fine. I don't know why all of a sudden the Bill of Rights means something.
Here's the thing, Glenn. This is an issue that does get people who believe in liberty on the left and right, and there are people who do have consistent, sincere beliefs. Like Ron Wyden, I think is a good man. I don't agree with him on most economic liberty issues, but on civil liberties, he and I have a lot of agreement. The other thing about this is if we're ever to grow as a party, the Republican Party to grow, we need to interest young people who are interested in civil liberties who may not be quite with us on the economic issues yet.
No. Hang on just a second.
As they get older, I think they come towards us.
Yeah, and I'm not saying about economic issues. I mean, when somebody is an avowed communist, and then I don't understand your civil liberties thing. However, we can disagree on a lot of things, and that's why I've been saying I really truly believe, and this is why I think you are the guy that could make the impact that will take us away from these two parties. You are the guy who could hold up the Bill of Rights and say, look, we can disagree on economic issues, we can disagree on a lot of stuff, but these 10 ideas we should have no disagreement on. These 10 ideas are what keeps the individual to be able to disagree with each other. And that's important.
Well, and that's sort of the point we were trying to make yesterday is that, Eric Holder has said that the Fifth Amendment they're trying to apply in the Oval Office when they talk about drone strikes. Now, it's debatable overseas because I think a lot of areas overseas in war you don't necessarily get the Fifth Amendment anyway. But the problem is they now say that these drone strikes are not ruling them out in America, but the Fifth Amendment being discussed privately as part of some kind of PowerPoint presentation in the Oval Office isn't really what most people conceive of when they think of due process and a jury and an accusation. So really what's applicable overseas in a drone program, and some of us might debate and we might actually accept a lot of what goes on overseas, but we can't accept that at home because it's different when we're talking about people who we think might be associated with terrorism. There really needs to be an accusation. There needs to be an adjudication of whether you really are or aren't. You need to be able to stand up and say, no, hey, I didn't mean what I said in that email. And there needs to be some discussion.
There needs to be a trial. There's no reason why our FBI cannot go in and arrest that person and have a trial. You don't kill people. No man should ever be in the position of judge, jury, and executioner, ever.
Well, see, this went on with the indefinite detention, too. See, about a year ago, they passed legislation that allows them to detain citizens without a trial, and American can be sent to Guantanamo Bay from here without a trial. And the president at that time said, well, I have no intention of doing that, but he signed the legislation, which is sort of what he's saying now. Trust me, I'm a good man. You can trust me. I will not kill Americans who are sitting in a restaurant. And, I want to take him at his word, but intent isn't really what I'm looking for. And so I mentioned several times yesterday, the oath of office says, I will protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution. It doesn't say I intend to when it's convenient.
Senator, there has been some criticism over your filibuster last night, including from apparently Lindsey Graham, saying that the idea that we're going to use a drone to attack a citizen in a cafe in America is ridiculous.
Well, I agree it's a ridiculous idea, but why wouldn't the president then say he won't?
That's exactly right.
Really is.
And it's
exactly why you do it.
Here's another from the Wall Street Journal editorial. Calm down, Senator, meaning you.
Oh, my God.
Mr. Holder is right. This is supposedly a conservative paper. Even if he doesn't explain the law very well, the U.S. government cannot randomly target American citizens on U.S. soil or anywhere else. What it can do under the laws of war is target an enemy combatant anywhere at any time, including on U.S. soil.
Yeah, here's the problem, this idea of laws of war. And I agree with some of this aspect of laws of war. If you're in Afghanistan or if you're in a battle zone, you get no due process. You don't get a lawyer. You don't get Miranda rights. You get killed. If you are shooting American soldiers, we can use drones, bombs. We have no limit to what kind of force we will use against you. The difference is that if you say America's part of the battlefield and you want the laws of war to apply over here, just describing someone as an enemy combatant. See, a year or two ago, they described people who are pro-life, people who are for strong immigration and strong secure borders, people who believe in third parties. I think Glenn Beck was on the list. Ron Paul was on the list. They described these people as potential terrorists, and they sent out a statement to all the police in Missouri.
Yeah.
So we have to be concerned about just saying someone's a dangerous person or enemy combatant. You have to prove that. You can't just accuse someone and then they get killed.
Yeah, the Southern Poverty Law Center just came out with a new study shows that these, quote, patriot groups are a danger and pose a terrorist threat, an increasing terrorist threat. That's their language. So you got to be really careful. One last question, Senator. We'll let you go. Are you going to vote for Brennan?
We're hoping to get an announcement from the White House this morning, and I don't intend to. We're trying to get a statement this morning that confirms that they're not going to target Americans who are not engaged in combat in America for targeted killing. And my argument really still is mainly with the idea, not the person. I'm concerned, though, that Brennan it's been like pulling teeth to get him to say he'll support the Constitution, and so my inclination is still to vote, not letting the end debate if I don't get the information. If I get the information, I've had this discussion before. My opinion a lot of times has been to give deference even to people I disagree with, but I won't vote for him on any of the votes if I don't get information from the White House saying they're going to adhere to the Constitution. How are you doing that? I know I lost a little bit there, but
you're not. I mean, at least you're clear. You're not waffling. You're not saying the popular thing, and I appreciate that. We just disagree on this. I think the guy man is a real danger to the United States, and putting him into that position is really quite dangerous. But I respect.
I think you're right, and the question always is what rises to that level. I think the constitutional question and the idea of killing citizens obviously rises to that level. The question is, I'm still leaving somewhat of an opening in the sense that I want to get an honest answer from the White House. We're using the leverage of holding up the vote, and I can make them stay here through Saturday, and they hate to work on weekends. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully they'll agree to give us a statement saying they're going to support the Constitution.
Senator, thank you very much, and very proud of the stand you made yesterday. Very proud the way you handled it, and I'm glad you're in Washington, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
God bless.